Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for September 20th, 2023. First order of business is to review the minutes from the last meeting of August 16th. Did everybody get an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes, I have, sorry I didn't send them to you before, Gretchen. Just a clarification for Optum, they're only requiring 2 variants as opposed to 3. The monument sign, it's kind of being combined with the total signage, so the second variance can just be, and I think there was a date, one of the dates, I think on the last page was missing, it said 203, so just missed put the 2. It says review was, this is for Bell, said review was continued to the September 20th, and we're just, it says 203, so just too critical.
Okay. And subject to those 2 changes. Anybody have any other changes? Okay. So I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes subject to those 2 changes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed. All right. We have one new well, we actually have 2 new applications, but the first one that's on is David LaPlante, and I understand that we're going to adjourn that until October 18th. Is that right? Okay. And so that puts us into the public hearings, and the first public hearing is in the case of Mr. Brian Williams. I don't think, my recollection was that he wasn't going to be able to be here. And I also, Kim, I understand that we haven't gotten the measurements that we needed.
Yeah, so at the last meeting, we asked for, kind of measurements. I don't think he's formally provided a survey yet to really confirm it. And his measurements didn't match the measurements that we've had previously. So we did, I believe Gretchen and Brian found the previous site plans that he referenced at the last meeting, but they were like the rear and the side yard setback. I think Brian, you said that it was just, this is for the
Yeah,
one.
they didn't show the front.
Yeah, so I believe he is reaching out to John Decker, so hopefully we should be getting it soon.
All right, so are we're just going to adjourn the
Yeah,
public
just
hearing
double
to the
check,
18th?
no one's here for Williams' application, correct?
No.
So we'll just adjourn it to the next meeting.
Okay, that makes that easy. And that's the only public hearing we had. And then we have 2 pieces of old business. First is the Bell case. And Catherine, I think you're going to read the resolution.
Can you hear me if I leave my mask on, or do I need to take it off?
Just get the
Okay,
microphone
closer,
a little bit
Closer. Okay, we'll try it this way. Resolution of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of the area variance application of Allison and Jason Bell, CBA case number 1045. The applicants are Allison and Jason Bell, referred to hereafter as the applicant. The applicants are representing themselves before this board. Property involved. This appeal involves property located at 2823 Route G, 9G, in the town of Rhinebeck, and which bears the tax parcel number 13508952690059635. The applicant's property is 1.2 acres in area and is located in the RC5 zoning district. Description of the proposed project. The applicant seeks to install a fence in the front yard of their property along Route 9G. The height of the fence will be 5 foot 11 inches. The fence will be set back about 20 feet from the road and will be made with wood posts with 3 board slats in between the posts. There will be a wire backing. The fence will be farm style and will not be a solid material that would otherwise prevent the passage of air or view. The purpose of the fence is not necessarily for privacy purposes, but rather to discourage cars from turning around in their driveway and to also provide an additional safety feature for their young child to play in the front yard. A number of area variances required. The applicant requires 1 area variance. pursuant to Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 12538A, fences cannot exceed 4 feet in height when erected within 50 feet of the front lot line or highway right-of-way. As indicated above, the proposed fence will be 5'11" in height and erected 20 feet from the front lot line of Route 9G. An area variance of 1 foot 11 inches is required to allow the fence to be 5'11" in height. ZBA review. Timeliness of appeal. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on June 2nd, 2023, and has paid the requisite fee. The appeal was filed within 60 days of the date of the ZEO's determination, appealed from, dated May 31, 2023, and thus the application is timely as required by section 125(125)B of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. This application was deemed complete and accepted by this board on June 21st, 2023, pending submission of photos of other farm-style fences in the area and receiving full renderings of the proposed fence, including any gate that may be installed. Such renderings were received on July 3rd, 2023. Secra. After accepting this appeal, we determined that this matter should be classified as a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act because the project's proposed action involves construction, expansion, or placement of minor accessory appurtenant residential structures, including garages, carports, patios, decks, swimming pools, tennis courts, satellite dishes, fences, barns, storage sheds, and other buildings not changing the land use or density. No further environmental review is required pursuant to SECRA. Referrals and responses. As required by section 125(125)E of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, this application was referred to the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board. The Rhinebeck Planning Board responded on July 18, 2023, and indicated that the requested variance raised no significant planning or environmental concerns, as the fence was located a minimum of 5 feet from the property line along the road and further back from the road than a guardrail on an adjacent property. The Planning Board did, however, recommend that comments be obtained from the New York State Department of Transportation to verify that the Department of Transportation does not have any issues with the proposed fence location given its proximity to Route 9G. The Planning Board also noted that the scale used on the hand-drawn paper indicated a potential distance discrepancy that should be verified when considering the area variance. Public hearing. A public hearing on this appeal was duly advertised and held at Town Hall on July 19, 2023. During the course of the public hearing, we received no comments from the public. The public hearing was closed on July 19, 2023. New York State Department of Transportation comment. The board considered the Planning Board's comment regarding seeking comments from New York State Department of Transportation and did ask if the applicant could reach out to them to verify that they were familiar with the proposed fence and that the setbacks were not an issue due to their proximity to the state right-of-way. On September 11, 2023, William LaRose from New York State Department of Transportation responded to the applicant, stating that they had no objection to the scope of the project at this time and had no comments. Mr. LaRose did note that a highway work permit is required for any work within the state highway right-of-way. Site visit. On August 9, 2023, ZBA members Scott Bergen and Catherine Clark visited the applicant's property and the surrounding neighborhood to observe firsthand on-site conditions, property characteristics, setting, surrounding environment, and the character of the surrounding neighborhood. The ZBA members were able to see the height of the posts as these were already installed but not completed, and the proposed positioning of the horizontal slats as demonstrated by strings along the post. The ZBA members were able to see how the placement of the proposed fence looked from the road. A row of evergreens has already been planted along much but not all of the fence line. No business or deliberations were conducted during the site visit. Extension granted for decision. With the close of the public hearing on July 19, 2023, the ZBA had 62 days to issue a decision. The expiration of the 62-day period would have been 1 day short of the regular scheduled ZBA meeting for September, falling on September 18, 2023. The ZBA received consent from the applicants at the August 16th ZBA meeting to grant an extension of 1 day so that this decision could be read at the regular scheduled ZBA meeting for September 20th, 2023. Balancing test. In our review of the variance sought, we have considered the benefit to the applicant if the area variance is granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. We determined that the variance requested should be granted because there is no detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by the granting of this variance. Consideration of five-factor and balancing tests. In our determination, we have considered the 5 factors required by Section 125.124C1 of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law as follows. If the variance is granted, will they cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? We find the answer to this question is no. In style, the fence matches many farm fences found in the neighborhood. Although the fence may be higher than other fences in the neighborhood, the fence has the appearance of a farm style and is not of a solid nature that prevents the passage of view or air. Overall, the fence is not intrusive to the character of the neighborhood. Due to the existing evergreen plantings, the fence is largely screened to the neighbors to the north, south, or east, with the trees breaking up the visuals of the fence. These trees are expected to continue growing, which will further mitigate the minimal visual impact that may be seen from the road. Can the benefit sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? We find the answer to this question is yes. The fence could be smaller in height, and if the fence were 4 feet in height, no variance would be required. However, the reason for this variance is twofold: to prevent access to the road for their young child and to reduce the excessive use of their driveway as a turnaround. The applicant believes that the additional height of the fence is in fact an important deterrent for drivers. They have sought other methods as a deterrent for cars, including requesting a guard rail be installed by New York State Department of Transportation, which was denied, and planting landscaping in the front. However, they have stated that the landscaping has not deterred drivers from continuing to use their driveway or turnaround. Thus, they decided to place a fence of this height to be a visible barrier to oncoming drivers, without being too visually obtrusive to neighbors, and to stop the child from getting out or throwing objects, such as balls of toys, into the road. Additionally, the gate, although set back further for safety, will prevent them from coming all the way into the yard to turn around. Is the requested area variance substantial? We find the answer to this question is yes. Numerically, the variance is substantial, but given the context of being in a rural area, the current plantings provide screening of the fence to neighboring houses, and given the farm style of the fence fits within the character of the neighborhood and is not substantial in nature. Will the proposed variances have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? We find the answer to this question is no. There will be little disturbance required for putting in poles, no grading is required, and no impervious surface will be created. Is the alleged difficulty self-created? We find the answer to this question is yes. The applicant could reduce the height to be 4 feet or set the fence further from the road. However, in doing so, it would not accomplish what they seek to do, which is deter cars from using their driveway to turn around and provide a safety element to kids in the front yard. Furthermore, while it is likely that the traffic along 9G was known to the applicant at the time of purchase, the excessive turnarounds have increased over time, likely due in part to the pervasive use of GPS and instructions to turn around when out-of-area cars go past Lake Quarry Road. The applicant has tried other methods to improve their safety, but such methods have done little to discourage drivers from utilizing their driveway to turn around. Minimal variance requested. In addition to our review of the 5 factors and balancing test, we must also determine if this requested variance is the minimum variance necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant. We find the answer to this question is yes. The additional height of the fence does make it more visible from the road, which in this instance is the desire and the objective of the fence for the applicant. We had considered if a smaller height at 5 feet would be feasible, but we think having the fence at a higher level would achieve the desired outcome for the applicant while preserving the rural character of the neighborhood. The applicant has stated that they desire to plant additional trees along the fence as well to help further screen the fence. Now therefore be it resolved, based on all the facts described above and upon the reason being described above, as follows. The ZBA hereby grants the variance requested by the applicant, finding that the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. The ZBA hereby grants the variance requested, allowing the construction of a farm-style fence 5 foot 11 inches in height, setback 20 feet from Route 9G along the front of the property. The granting of the variance is expressly contingent upon the construction being in conformity with the height, style, and design presented to the board. This variance is also contingent on the applicant continuing to their best efforts the planting of trees along the rest of the frontage consistent with those already planted. The granting of this variance shall also be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of Rhinebeck of any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with this application in full compliance with Article 14, fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. The variance shall not be deemed granted until all such fees are paid in full by the applicant. The granting of this variance does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits and/or approvals. The proposed fence must be constructed in conformity with the application of plans submitted and the inclusion of the additional plantings as mentioned in section 2 above. The area variance should be null and void unless the proposed construction is commenced within 1 year of this resolution.
Thank you, Catherine. And you can, comments? I'll start off. I was kind of a proponent during the course of the public hearing and things like that, maybe having it at 5 foot versus essentially 6 foot. But going to the site changed my mind. And saying basically, there's no neighbor across the street. It's just basically a rock wall. And the neighbors to the south and the north, there's not going to be no effect on them. The other thing that was pretty persuasive to me, and it wasn't referenced in here, but I'll say for the record that the applicant who met us out there showed us photographs, which were pretty stunning of the aftermath of people coming into their property, and turning around and actually going deeply into the property, not just like turning around, but going up the yard and all that kind of stuff, and which I was just astounded by. And then we took measurements out there, and it didn't really seem like the 511 was that big a deal. And also you have plantings, there were considerable plantings, which, prevent people from seeing it. And you're not really gonna see it anyway, because quite frankly, you're gonna be going by there at 55 or 60 miles an hour or whatever it is. It's right out on 9G, so I didn't think it was a big deal to go the extra mile and grant the application after going out there and seeing the evidence given to us by the applicant, just being out and seeing the surrounding area. So that, we can both out there together with the feelings were like.
No, I agree. I think before we went out, that we both probably had a feeling, and maybe other members too, that 4 feet, 5 feet, why does it need to be 5'11"? But I think in context of what you're trying to achieve, it makes sense to do that.
But wouldn't a 4-foot fence stop the cars from going into the driveway also?
I suppose.
That's what is not sure. I mean, I was not
Yeah.
here for that meeting because I was on
I think,
vacation.
I think you need something pretty imposing to stop these folks. I mean, it was pretty outrageous what we saw in the photographs that were taken by the applicant about people, just blasted through into their front yard and everything else. So, I probably wouldn't go along with 8 feet or 10 feet or something like that, but I really didn't have a problem with 6 feet. I mean, you could have a 6-foot fence if it's in the rear, so I didn't really have a problem with it, and given the problems that they've had, and the efforts they've made before even trying this method, they went to the Department of Transportation.
Yes,
They
yes,
put
I
up signs, they actually even have signs out there, please don't turn around. And they just keep getting these people turning around, or I guess there were some intoxicated people and things like that who just blasted through, so. I think it made sense, and again, the plantings also made a big deal for me, because the plantings are right now about 6 feet and in height, and they're going to grow out, and you're not going to see it. And if you go up and down the border there, it's fine, in my opinion. So believe me, I was more of a 5-footer, but after I got done going out there, that's why we do the site inspection, because it really gives you the perspective, and we had the additional information provided by the applicant, which was persuasive. Remind me.
Would you like to add some of that language into the resolution, or would you just make it?
I think it's in the record right now.
Okay,
So,
we'll make sure it's in the
yeah,
minutes.
and maybe I should have added that, but there were photographs and things like that which really showed significant damage to the yard for these folks. So anyway, any other comments, concerns?
Yeah, but I
Correction.
think there was I think I saw you put a little
Yeah, there was.
It was a public, not a public, I think it was under 15A,
It was just one word.
yeah,
uh,
plural into singular.
Property, set of
Oh.
properties.
If the variance is granted, will it
Continue
cause
on.
an undesirable change? You see where that is?
Yep,
Ken?
yeah, I think I saw you make a note.
Yeah, that was the only thing I happened to remember.
And there was just a numbering issue, which I took care of.
Do you want to make a motion, or
Yeah.
I don't want to, anybody have anything else to say, or?
I looked at the project, I've asked by the way, so to me it was like,
So I make a motion that we accept the resolution.
Okay, and I will second it, or you second it, Joe will second it. Gretchen, would you like to do the honors?
All right, Scott,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Joe.
yes.
Okay, granted. And so the next thing on is Optum, and I guess I
So do
would,
you want to ask if, I think Victoria and Upstate Down are here.
okay,
Would you like to go now, or would you like us to read the resolution?
we can do that. I mean, that's not.
Sure.
There's nobody here from Optum, I'm sure, so. Oh, you want, sorry about that.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a great night. Thank you.
Yep. So, yeah,
Hi.
so you've been through this before.
Yeah,
believe,
I
so-
haven't been before you in a very long time, so
I
nice
know,
to see
but
everyone.
all we're looking for is for you to describe a brief overview of what you want to do, and then assuming we have enough information, we'll accept the application and send it down for public hearing.
short.
But
So, good evening, Victoria Polidoro, partner at Rodenhouse Michelle Polidoro, here on behalf of Upstate Down Properties LLC. Upstate Down owns property located at 1094 Route 308. It's up on the screen. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. Since I've lived here, it's been a Greek restaurant, sushi restaurant, Grand Cru at one point, and now it is home to Upstate Down House. So this commercial use has been ongoing and is part of the community for many years. It was last formalized by issuance of a use variance by this board on April 15th, 2015. I gave you a copy of the use variance and we can go through it at the next meeting in more detail. But in essence, the use variance was granted to allow the restaurant, those current restaurant uses, but a broader, more general commercial use of the property. The use variance uses the term commercial use and says that if the commercial use of the property ceases for a year, then the use variance would expire. The use variance also acknowledges that there are other commercial properties in the neighborhood. So your particular zoning law has a very tight definition of what a restaurant is, and the zoning board wasn't bound by that particular definition when it issued the use variance. Restaurants aren't allowed in this district. So instead, the zoning board at the time looked at the building, looked at the characteristics of the area, and granted a use variance for commercial use, which allowed it to be used as a restaurant in the colloquial sense, what we call restaurant. So moving forward many years, Upstate Down purchased the property in May of 2022. And they intended to use it for commercial uses, including a restaurant, but not in the traditional restaurant sense where it's open every day, sit-down tables. Just as we all learned to work differently during COVID and work remotely, work in different ways, this is a business that is evolving. So it's a restaurant use, but also going to serve as an office. And they may also have talks there from time to time. But it is intended to serve food. Once they purchased the property, they realized there was significant property damage. I don't know if you guys have been in there, but there was at any time when it was operating. But there was a lot of deferred maintenance, water intrusion, infestations. And so it took a lot of effort to make those repairs, and they did not get to open as soon as they wanted. However, while the repairs were being undertaken on the interior of the building, they did hold a commercial pop-up event. One was held September 7th, 2022. Another on January 7th, 2023. And so at these events, people were invited to the property, money was exchanged for food and other services, and they retained receipts, etc. In July 2023, Upstate Down received a notice of violation from the town of Rhinebeck that the special use permit as a restaurant was lost by cessation. Now this came as a surprise to them because they purchased the property understanding that it could be used for their intended use. They did their diligence before purchasing the property about its intended use. They put money into the property to get it ready for its intended use, and they did hold those pop-up events in order to secure the intended use. So Upstate Down is now forced to appeal this determination on several grounds. So the first issue, which you will see when you review the notice of violation, is that the building inspector confused the special permit with the use variance. I mean, Rhinebeck zoning law is complicated, so I understand how this happens. But this property did not have a special use permit for a restaurant as defined in the zoning law. Instead, it had a use variance for commercial use. Zoning being a derivation of the common law, when you're dealing with taking away people's rights, you have to find in favor of the landowner when there's ambiguity. And so here, you have a use variance resolution, which uses the term commercial use, which is a little broader, a little more flexible than that. So on its face, the notice of violation is wrong because there never was a special use permit. They're operating under something different. Second, the commercial use of the property did not cease for a year. There's no evidence in the particular notice of violation to support that assertion. He was provided with documentation of the pop-up events held in September, which by his estimation was 9 months. The notice of violation says that the use ceased 12/23/21. Property was purchased in May, and the first pop-up was held in September. So that's about a 9-month span. It's certainly less than a calendar year. We believe that the CEO improperly disregarded this information when he issued the notice of violation. So tonight, we're asking that the zoning board schedule a public hearing on the appeal and ultimately find that this use of the property has not ceased so that it can continue to be used for commercial use that serves food.
Is there another commercial use, or is it just a commercial use for serving food?
Do you want to explain your concept?
All right, so when you come up, if you can just do the same thing, say your name and that kind of stuff, so we know who you are. And come on up.
Sure.
Hi, everybody. I'm Delise Berry, my husband John here tonight, and we own Upstate Down. You know, one of the things I think that's a little confusing, even perhaps as we sort of are classifying it as our company name, is that we have, and maybe we should have organized this better long ago, but we have multiple businesses within our lifestyle-based company that operates under a parent name. And so while it might, confuse a little bit of that, this particular property was always designed to be based on, an available option that the community has really wanted to need in the restaurant, pop-up engagement for the community. We were hoping, and while that was something that was evolving, because as Victoria said, we ended up biting off way more than we can chew, we couldn't even consider going to the health department and really wrapping our heads on the best way to make it profitable, but most of all, really functional for the community because of how much work. I can't believe there was even a health department approval on it before. I mean, flooding basement, infestation of everything, walls that were totally, areas that were rotten. I mean, we just had to, pretty stuff is fine, but their infrastructure needed repair. We were hoping, though, as our model sort of crystallized a bit, to do what I would call a hybrid model restaurant, right? So maybe not open all year, but through the summer times, through the nice weather. In a lot of ways, Grand Cru did a lot of that, right? Like in the summer, it was much more vibrant, and I think they were probably a little more, their hours may have changed through the winter. And so we wouldn't have been opposed if someone said you can't do a hybrid model, it has to be a traditional model. We were like, great, we'll have an operating partner. We wanted something that community can have outside the village that would be of service to everybody, right? And so our thought, though, was hybrid allows us to also feature local chefs, to have a place, to have dinners, to have gatherings. We have 3 kids. We get all of these friends who are like artists, and they want a place to showcase while they're having meals as a community. And so we thought, of course, we were going to incorporate food. That was part of it. And, our other businesses involve furniture and other things, and it's a place that we're going to style that really indicates the bigger, broad vision of our company. But this was about a hybrid model sort of based restaurant. And unfortunately, we didn't get to the operating partner nitty-gritty of those details because we've now lost many, many months towards that classification of trying to do that now that the violation was there, including tons of money and resources based on the infrastructure issues and now this delay. But
What other businesses were operating out of there? I know you talked about the pop-ups, the restaurant.
we were very seldom there. John and I spent some time there just
But can you tell me what other
our
businesses?
other businesses. So we have a place in town, in the village.
No.
Oh,
But
sorry.
what was operated out of that building other than a food use?
That's it. I mean, other than we've spent some time there.
So no other businesses of any sort?
No, John had gone there with our computers, but we don't have, that's it. And we've taken friends and hung out there, but that's it. We have not had it be a business functional space. So through our time of opening. Apart from the pop-ups. And we just did another one just because we're within that range. And so during that time, we had some visitors, but just to like further the office discussion, because I feel like that's been some of the weight on this. Like, our employees are 3 of us. It is me, John, and 1 employee. That is it. We have freelancers, they work from home. So if we're gathering as a group to talk, that happens every couple months. We don't have an office like that. We have a store in town with an office space in the back. We've been working there for 2.5 years. We would never let that go. That part of our business is forward facing. It needs interaction with walk-in traffic and community. What would we do without a great crew that would serve those businesses? It wouldn't make sense. It has no connection to the way in which we grow those businesses. It's a restaurant, clearly. I mean, of course, it's beautiful. I would love to sit there with my computer and work there, and I think I should be able to if I own it. But it's not an office. We don't have employees to work in an office. We don't have them, and the ones that we have are in town, which is where we need them, because that's how they engage to our community and share what we do.
What do you do in the village, if you don't mind?
So we call ourselves a lifestyle brand. Lifestyle meaning is the way you live in the Hudson Valley, and that embodies hopefully food at some point, but otherwise is interior design. We have a home decor store, so everything that you can kind of touch and is pretty within a store, and then we have a real estate brokerage. So all 3 things are designed to create like a lifestyle meeting people where they are in their process of living in homes in the Hudson Valley. We feature a lot of artists. We try to do stuff with the schools and really engage those areas. So it was natural for us to want to also engage, people that have great food and all of that sort of thing.
And I understand you're not going to give up what you have in the village, but
Yeah.
say hypothetically, we went your way. Would there be interior design stuff going on out there? Would there be real estate brokerage stuff going on out there? Or are we just basically talking pretty much a restaurant? Maybe you have some artist friends displaying stuff and things like that. But
Yeah.
what's the nature?
No interior design and no real estate brokerage. If we were to ever work towards expanding that for, let's say, an agent that works for us, they need to be in the village. They need that connection, or they work from home. So we have no intentions of that being an office space for those uses.
But that's not to say that you won't decorate it to
Oh, right. No, it's going to be an experience that embodies the bigger picture of Upstate Down, for 100%. So, the furniture represents what we also sort of serve as a vision of our company. But that's all it is. It's a branding correlation. It's interconnected. It's an experience. But this space is definitely, even we've had this kind of outreach from the community. I can't believe in the past 3 weeks we've had other local businesses being like, what are the options? Can we rent it to I want to have, the comic book store and one of the artists in town. Like, we'll have someone pay for food. Can we have our art there? It's like such a shame that there's no place for community and businesses to operate and grow together and still be within what we're trying to do, which is serve food. And we were like, I don't even know if we can do that, but we're not trying to ruffle feathers. We truly felt like this place was falling apart. It's close to where we live. We loved it. We wanted this as an opportunity for the community and to make it look nice. And it's just been kind of blown away.
So with the pop-up, is it food, I guess you're not currently in it, so is it food trucks? Is it a kitchen that you guys are using?
We try to be really careful, like leading up to this point, like the first pop-up when I spoke to Brian, it was like food truck, it's like, no, you can't do that. It's like, okay, we won't. It's like, we really wanted to just follow the rules. Yeah, okay.
So I think I got what you're asking. So when the pop-ups were held, because they did not have the Department of Health license sufficient at that point, food was brought in from other vendors and resold. So it was brought in by people that did have a Department of Health license, like a catering, and then resold to the customers.
Outside?
Yeah, it was an outdoor market. But in the future, the plan is that once this is resolved, we can move forward, that they will get their Department of Health approval and they'll be operating.
And would the food be inside, if you continue with the food, and would you have, sort of food people go, because you said it's about decorating the interior.
It would be inside, but also outside. This is Grand Cru, some outside tables.
Oh, if the outside is fully set, it looks like the beautiful picnic tables, it's all there. meaning, in other words, to your point about the decorating, like, the chairs that we choose to serve at the tables are gonna be things that we also work with in the interiors department. So you get this, connected branding, but that chair's not for sale.
Oh, no,
It's, you know,
I was just wondering if people would remain outside,
Yeah.
or would
Okay.
they start going inside?
Yeah, we hope to have both. I mean, the
Yeah.
inside is really beautiful, the outside's great. We would love the option to have a, feature a chef in the winter, but just based on where it is, we really see it as probably more concentrated through the warmer months. And the kitchen, yeah, we want it to be operational so that way a chef can come in and, and feature their food. And maybe that chef is there not just for a night, but maybe it's for a period of time. Like, we were really open to figuring out the best way to make it function based on what's allowed, based on what the community wants. Those things we're really open to.
Okay, and
But in the end, food and money will be exchanged.
Yeah, 100%.
and when you said like featured an artist, you had also mentioned talking, like would you have like a display of, like, I know this is all hypothetical,
Yeah.
because I know, but I'm just wondering, like, with your vision, like, if you have the artist display their work or just talking, or?
I feel so like careful, right? Because I want to do whatever's allowed, but if it's allowed, I would love for an artist to be able to have an art opening with showcasing their stuff and a caterer there or someone serving appetizers and then maybe, pop up food for a series of time. I'd love to integrate experiences with the food if it was allowed. If it wasn't, it's going to have to be more traditional, which is fine, but only because of the need that we see. Like, there's, the friend who called, who's this wonderful artist, who's like, we're looking at the churches to be able to do something. It's a good option, but it's limiting for what we're trying to do. And so I hope we can do that because I think the community wants that. But if we can't, we're going to fit within whatever the rules are, because we're not trying to ruffle the feathers. We just want to do it and do it well and do it for everybody, so.
Yeah, your intention is really to have a fully operational restaurant if you can.
I'm sorry, to have a fully operating restaurant? Yes, just with modified hours, which is why I'm calling it hybrid.
Right.
Yeah.
But from a use standpoint.
Yeah,
You want to have a kitchen approved by the health department, serve food.
Exactly, yes, exactly.
I didn't get all of that from all of this from Levenhausen. I wasn't quite sure if why we're here is that you kind of lost the use permit because it was closed for a year, or that you were trying to allow the use of the property to be something other than a restaurant.
So-
It sounded as if you wanted to make it something else. That's a lot in here.
There's a lot in there, and I will submit an updated narrative statement explaining what the use is going to be a little more.
And I'm curious.
But the notice of violation, part of the reason the letter addresses those things, the notice of violation hit on a few different issues.
Yes.
And so, trying to address them, when the real issue was the use variance allows commercial use, and it did not cease for a year.
Yeah, I just want to read something here, and I'd like to understand this. So, the 2015 use variance issued to the then owner of the property, Sophia Papakonstantis, who sought to make her then contemplated sale of the property more feasible, sought and obtained from the ZBA a variance for the property to be used for any commercial use of the property, as the ZBA recognized that there would be no interest in purchasing the parcel without commercial status. So my question is, does that carry over?
Well, use variances run with the land.
I beg your pardon?
Use variances run with the land because you regulate the use, not the user. And so the use variance was in effect at the time of purchase.
Yeah.
There's nothing on the record to say that it wasn't. So the issue really is, I think Mr. Tam took a very conservative view, saying that it had to be used as a restaurant with a Department of Health licensed kitchen, versus a broader view of commercial use, where there was still food and money being exchanged. And so we're saying, the term commercial use is what was used in the variance, and so this is what's binding. The four corners of this document are binding. And that food and money were exchanged, and that we are not bound by that specific language about it being a Department of Health licensed kitchen.
The question that's going to really be before the board, Richard, is determining what the use variance was issued and to make sure that the use is within whatever the use variance is.
When the use variance was issued in 2015?
Yes, although I think there was one in 2014.
I think there was a prior one, and then it looked like.
I think, so there's a.
I can fill you, and I've been on this board for 20 years. And so I went through this process, and I think that we did have to extend it because it was a restaurant, and then it fell into this use, and then they're about to lose the use as a restaurant, and it was granted, and then I think granted again. I recollect, and I could be wrong, and I want to do some research on this, was that we were really thinking that we just wanted to help this very nice family out to continue the use as a restaurant. However, I understand, I'm an attorney, by the way.
Yes.
I understand the argument that it's ambiguous, that, it can be construed against the folks who work with it. So I think that's kind of an argument that we have, that there may be ambiguity when we decide what to use. Ambiguity such that it's not restricted to the restaurant use, it may be something else.
Well, I think that before we say if there's ambiguity or not, I think.
Well, I'm
it's
not saying there
important-
is.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
important
I know you
to
are.
kind of review what the use variance
Right.
is, and whatever. Because I think there was also reference to a commercial use as referenced in the application, so we have to kind of see.
Right, we have to
about
go back, but what I'm saying is the use variance is very broad term. It didn't say restaurant as defined in the zone. It was commercial use for what we all know was acting as a restaurant where people sat and there was money exchange. And so we're saying here that, assuming the application was for a restaurant and the commercial use was to allow the continuation of a restaurant, that this pop-up event, which was held where food and money were exchanged, was sufficient to carry on the commercial use under the terms of this variance, which does not necessarily reference or incorporate the definition of restaurant in your zoning law, which is more strict. So, the alternative here is if you deny this and say that it's expired, we have to come in, apply for a new use variance. And I suspect the argument that has now twice been approved would now again carry the day, and it's paperwork. And it's a cost and uncertainty for, this family that lives in Rhinebeck and is just trying to operate their business.
I saw in one of your exhibits, I know you said you're going to provide kind of an updated narrative. In the exhibits where you provided the receipts, it's kind of like, it was more of an attachment for the sale.
It was, because I understand most of it was cash, and so
Yeah.
there was a quick
Do you
book
have just,
filings.
yeah, no, I understand. Could you just provide just like, I don't know if you have photos of the events or just like a little bit, just looking at that on the paper, it wasn't clear as to what that represented.
Right, we'll see if we have a photo, but, we did provide numerous affidavits from people that.
Yes,
attended
yeah, I
the
saw
event,
some.
swearing that, they went and they paid.
They need to get into the event.
For the food, really, they paid for the
Oh,
food. Yeah.
Okay. Board, don't have any more, questions? I think you have enough information, we can accept the application.
I think so too.
Schedule a public
Yeah,
hearing.
and that we can do a little research and
But we might ask for more information as we go forward, just in case we take a closer look at the applications or anything, but,
I think we know what the issues are, so we just have to kind of do a little research. So, anyway, I agree with Ken that there's enough information here that we know what the issues are. We can accept the application. Any other thoughts? Okay, then I make a motion that we accept the application. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we'll set it down for a public hearing on October 18th. Is that correct? Okay. You can be here on that day?
If that's a Wednesday,
Oh, it's always Wednesday.
and I'll make sure that
All right, and if we need some other additional information, we'll let you know, but
Thank
See you
you.
on the 18th. All right.
So it should, my
Let me see.
recommendation should be a type 2 action
Yeah.
as interpretation.
Interpretation. Under 617.5.
Oh, I thought.
37, so I make a motion to adopt the recommendation of Ken that this is a type 2 matter under section 617.537, interpretation of the existing rule or regulation. Do I have a second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. And,
And no referrals are needed,
Right.
because it's an interpretation of the
Right.
rule, so.
and as far as giving it to somebody to consider, I think basically under our new operating thing,
Yeah,
grand lines, well,
Yeah,
I
so
just discussed
typically,
about it.
when we have an appeal or interpretation, just because there's a lot more legal
Right.
issues that are usually brought up, Grant Lyons usually will do the drafting of it, just as with variances and everything, you know. So it's going to be you guys have the ZBA or the finders of facts, and also, so you guys are what's taking, it's called a de novo review, which means a new or a fresh, which means that you can certainly be reading, you know, the determination letter. You're not bound by the determination letter. You're going to be the one that you're essentially making the decision that you think ought to have been made by the zoning enforcement officer. And, you know, we're available for any, if you have any legal questions, we're available for attorney-client meetings. And the way that we've operated in the past, you know, you guys give us your kind of deliberations, your opinions on it. You know, again, we're available if you have any questions, and then we'll take what your decision is, and then we'll draft that into a resolution.
And that's historical,
Yeah,
interpretations, because it makes sense. There's a lot of law.
Yeah, I think you guys
And
were.
Red Wing, we've done it. Some other things, so. All right, great. All righty, anything else? I think that's basically.
We have Optimum.
Well, I know, but on this last application, I think that's it.
I think that's it, yeah.
Okay. All right,
So
so,
we do meet again, chat about this a little bit.
oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we'll have a public hearing. And
No, before the public hearing, as far as how we.
I think we would really talk after the public hearing.
After the
Once we
public
hear,
If you have any questions, you know, you can ask, you know, we can answer any questions you may have, Richard, just in terms of the process or any legal questions. You know, all your fact findings and discussions will be done at an open meeting. I think you were involved in one of the interpretations for the access road with
Right,
Red
that
Wing.
was about that.
So it will just be essentially just like with an area variance, you know, you go through a public hearing, listen to the comments, and then, you know, if you, like I said, we just offer, you can always ask for an attorney-client meeting anyway. It's just because there's just a little bit more legal issues that are raised as opposed to with an area variance. I just want to just let you guys know that, you know, that is always, it's always an option no matter what. And, you know, if you have any questions, we can always address them.
but typically we do the public hearing and then we start discussing. And then we'll kind of where we're going to go, what we feel, and then we'll, plenty of discussion, but it has to be public, so.
Yeah, as I said, I think that the main factor that the ZBA should start is to look at what the use variance granted was. And then, you know, I think Victoria explained it well in terms of the two issues are what is the use variance that was granted, and then was there a cessation? Those are going to be your two main questions.
I think there's also an ambiguity argument too.
Yeah, it was raised and it will have to be addressed.
An ambiguity, typically, if there's an ambiguity, it's the person who writes the document who created the ambiguity, you're typically found against that person. It's kind of horrible.
Well, yeah, what it is that in land use, the courts have said that, you know, if you have zoning law, it's kind of a derogation of the common law in that whatever, you know, you can do whatever you want on the property. So there is, you know, a lot of court decisions that say if there's ambiguity,
Oh, okay.
it results in favor of the landowner as opposed to the municipality.
Okay, I
But with
remember
it-
that.
Yeah, mostly what the ambiguity means is that can a reasonable decision going either way be stated. But yeah, that is.
It's a general principle of law, not just land use, it's just a general. It's always decided against the scribbler, so, the writer. So, just. Anyway. All right, well, why don't we finish things up? And Kim, thank you for writing up the resolution for.
Okay, well, like I said,
Appreciate it.
I just kind of draft up mostly just whatever you guys.
Right, no, I understand, but it's just nice not to have to actually physically do it, so I appreciate it. Anyway, this is in the Optum matter. It's a resolution of the town of Rhinebeck zoning board of appeals in the matter of the area variance application of Optum, ZBA case number 1043. Background, the applicant is Optum, referred to here as the applicant. The applicant is represented before the board by Suma Network. Property involved, the application involves property located at 6734 Route 9 in the town of Rhinebeck, and which bears the tax parcel number 617000799982. The applicant's property is located in the CB-S zoning district. Description of proposed project. The applicant proposes to change the sign from Caramount to Optum due to change of ownership. The monument sign by Route 9 will include a like-kind exchange of sign, same material and size, with a change of name from Caramount to Optum. Additionally, 2 vinyl signs will be added to the door of the Optum building, mainly providing information such as hours and directions. The word Optum will be featured on the doors. The identity wall sign on the facade of the building will also say Optum, but this sign change has been approved previously. Pursuant to the town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-37K2A, there cannot be more than 2 primary signs permitted per establishment on the lot, which consists of 1 freestanding identity sign and/or 1 identity wall sign located on the establishment's principal facade. The maximum total signage for the establishment also cannot exceed 30 square feet. Here, the applicant requires 2 area variances from the town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-37, K2A. The first area variance, the applicant seeks to have 1 identity sign, which is already approved, 1 freestanding monument sign with a sign on both sides of the monument sign, and 2 door signs. This exceeds the permitted 2 primary signs permitted under the town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-37, K2A. Therefore, the applicant requires an area variance for 3 additional signs. The second area variance, the total signage proposed by the applicant is 56.93 square feet. The monument sign measures 23.2 square feet in total, counting both sides. The identity wall sign measures 29.3 square feet. The door sign on the front entrance measures 3.15 square feet, and the door sign on the side, directing the public to use the main entrance, measures 1.2 square feet. The applicant exceeds the maximum signage total of 30 square feet and thus requires an area variance for 26.93 square feet. ZBA review, timeliness of the appeal. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on June 5th, 2023, and has paid the requisite fee. Initially, the applicant previously applied for a sign permit with the town of Rhinebeck zoning enforcement officer, ZEO, and received a determination letter based on those plans dated April 18th, 2023. Unbeknownst to the board at the time, those plans were withdrawn, but the applicant still applied for area variances for the monument sign, believing they needed those variances before applying for a sign permit. This application was deemed complete and accepted by this board on July 19th, 2023. It was later discovered that the ZEO had not reviewed the latest plans from the applicant. The ZEO reviewed the latest set of plans that are before the Zoning Board of Appeals and issued a revised determination letter dated August 3rd, 2023, citing the above-mentioned area variances required. The ZBA accepts the revised August 2nd, 2023 determination letter from the ZBO and will proceed with the application. Seeker, after accepting this appeal, we determined that this matter should be classified as a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, seeker pursuant to section 617.5C22, because the project involves installation of traffic control devices on existing streets, roads, and highways, which includes the installation of signs. No further environmental review is required pursuant to seeker. And it appears that I have a draft, because under referrals, I don't have the dates and things like that.
Yes, I changed those, I talked with Gretchen, so I
Okay.
put those in.
All right. So I didn't get the updated one apparently. but-
The only thing that was changed, Scott, is I added the dates to which that
Okay.
they were referred, July 21st,
Okay.
to both the planning board and Dutchess County. And then Catherine had a few edits that I,
Okay.
grammatical
Do you
changes.
have a copy of the original, or the latest version? That I can- Would you kind? Well, you can. Yes, thank you. I mean, I'm on paragraph 6. Yep. Thank you. Here we go. All right, referrals and responses. The application was referred to the Dutchess County Planning Department pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 239M on July 21st, 2023, and the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board pursuant to Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, Section 125-125E on July 21st, 2023. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board responded to the August 9, 2020, responded on August 9, 2023, finding that the requested area variances raise no significant planning or environmental concerns. The planning board noted that the sign regulations of Rhinebeck, Town of Rhinebeck zoning section 125-37, can be strict for commercial uses and may not meet the needs for commercial operations along higher speed roads such as Route 9. I agree. Anyway, the planning board noted that the monument sign is being placed in kind and that the identity wall sign appeared to be a reduction in sign size from the previous Caremark sign. Although the planning board noted the orange color of the identity wall sign for Optum was a little bright in comparison to the other signs in the area, they stated that it did not appear to be inconsistent with the adjacent top sign in the same plaza and on the same building, which is bright red. The planning board also did not see much issue with the door signs, finding that the information provided on it would be generally be considered typical and important to display to anyone entering the medical building. The Dutchess County Planning Board responded on July 31st, 2023, stated that this matter was a matter of local concern and provided no further recommendations or advisory. Public hearing. A public hearing on this appeal was duly advertised and held at Town Hall on August 16, 2023. During the course of the public hearing, we received no comments from the public. The public hearing was closed on August 16, 2023. Site visit. All members of the ZBA are familiar with the property and signage given its location on Route 9 and indicated they would make individual visits to the applicant's property and the surrounding neighborhood to observe firsthand on-site conditions, property characteristics, setting, surrounding environment, and the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Findings of fact and conclusions of law. Balancing test. In our review of the variances sought, we have considered the benefit to the applicant if the area variances are granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. We determined that the variances requested should be granted because there is no detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community with the granting of these variances. So that will change on paragraph 9. Consideration of the 5-factor imbalancing test. In our determination, we have considered the 5 factors required by section 125-124 C1 of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law as follows. A, if the variances are granted, will they cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? We find that the answer to this question is no. The area variances are requested to substitute a name change to reflect the current business. The size, height, and positioning of the monument sign will not change. Although the monument sign, even as it exists today, exceeds the maximum signage requirement, Route 9 is a heavily traveled and fast road, and the sign is a reasonable size for drivers to be able to safely see and locate businesses while traveling along Route 9. A change in name from Caramount to Optum on both the monument sign and the identity wall sign will not cause an undesirable change from the existing character along this section of Route 9. The door signs themselves are not inherently visible from Route 9 and will not cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood along Route 9. Adding these signs on the door will provide helpful and necessary information for patients and the public to enter the building. B, can the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to peruse or pursue other than an area variance? We find that the answer to the question is yes. The applicant could forego the door signs and have only the identity wall sign and the monument sign. However, the door signs provide helpful informational signs to those who may need to use the building, such as hours of operation, which door to use, and the use of the building for urgent care and medical care. However, the applicant would need a variance regardless for the monument sign, as they are replacing an in-kind sign on an existing monument sign as one of the businesses within the plaza area. The monument sign exists already with other businesses, and the applicant is merely exchanging one sign on it to reflect new ownership. Even if the door signs were removed, an area variance would still be required for the total maximum signage for the monument sign and identity wall sign. C, is the requested area variance substantial? We find that the answer to this question is no. Although the applicant is requesting more than double the number of signs for the establishment and seeking almost twice the requirement for the total signage amount, such size is necessary to safely and adequately direct traffic from Route 9 into the establishment's lot. As the town of Rhinebeck Planning Board remarked, commercial signage requirements are strict and often do not seem to be adequate for most commercial operations along higher speed roads such as Route 9. The wording must be of a certain height to reasonably allow motorists to safely see the business and turn into the respective lots. As the applicant is mainly proposing a change of ownership name and adding some additional information about his business on the door, we do not find the requested variances are substantial in nature. D, will the proposed variances have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? We find that the answer to this question is no. The monument sign will be replaced by an in-kind sign showing change of ownership from Caramount to Optum. No physical changes are required to the monument sign, foundation, or surrounding areas. The door signs will not require any physical or environmental disturbance. Is the alleged difficulty self-created? We find that the answer to this question is yes. The applicant could forego having the door signs. The applicant could also design the wall identity sign to be smaller, even though it is already a reduction of the original signage for Caramount. However, for placement of the sign on the existing monument sign, the applicant is replacing the Caramount sign to Optum in kind and would still likely require an area variance to fit the already existing space, even if the other signs were not proposed. Minimal variance requested. In addition to our review of the 5 factors and balancing test, we must also determine if these requested variances are the minimum variances necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant. We find the answer to this question is yes. The purpose of the signs is to indicate a change of ownership from Caramount to Optum. The monument sign must be a certain size to fit into the existing monument sign with an in-kind exchange. The identity sign is a reduction from the previous sign for Caramount, and the door signs provide helpful information for direction and informational purposes. Now therefore be it resolved, based on all the facts described above, and upon the reasoning described as follows. Section 1. The ZBA hereby grants the variances requested by the applicant, finding that the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. The variances are requested by the applicant to show a change in ownership from Caramount to Optum, and in most cases the change is either in-kind exchange of sign, just indicating a new owner, or a reduction in the size of the sign. The door signs are additional, but also provide information beneficial to the public who may need to enter the building, and is hardly visible from Route 9 to passing vehicles. Section 2, the ZBA hereby grants the variances from the zoning law subject to the conditions stated below. The design and placement of the signs will conform to the plans submitted to the ZBA. Section 3, the granting of these variances will also be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of Rhinebeck of any and all fees and escrow deposits due in connection with this application in full compliance with Article 14, fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning law. These variances shall not be deemed granted until all such fees are paid in full by the applicant. For the granting of these variances does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits and approvals. The proposed signage must be constructed in conformity with the application plan submitted. And then 5, the area variances shall be null and void unless the proposed construction is commenced within 1 year of this resolution. Well done. To me, this was a no-brainer, and I absolutely agree with the planning board that obviously it's not for today, but at some point in time, the zoning law should be changed to allow for larger signs in areas like this. I think having signs, as an example, the Brookmead sign, that required variances, I still think it's too small. That's my personal opinion, because cars are going by way too fast. They have to slow down to see the sign, and I think that causes problems. I had no problem with this application. Again, I think the law should be changed. Hopefully the town board will take steps like they did when we had the issues with the accessory structures law. We amended that so we didn't have
The issues of what?
We had an issue years ago, maybe 5 years ago, with accessory structures and what accessory structures were. So if you wanted to put a generator at your house, that was considered an accessory structure, and we had to give variances for generators, gazebos, and other very small things, and they changed the law, so that's no longer the case. It was silly.
It was so.
It was, yeah, it was very silly, and you know what? It was very costly to people too, because they had to come in for a number of variances, and it cost them a lot of money, needlessly. But, so that's what I think ought to happen here, and I think I've said enough. So I'll let you guys say something if you have anything to say.
I totally agree.
Sign things.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
It really has to be changed, and maybe it will. Hope springs eternal. All right, I make a motion that we grant the resolution as read with a couple of minor little changes, corrections. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Gretchen, would you like to do the honors?
Okay, Scott?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes. All right, that's it unless there's any, do we have anything else we need to discuss? All right. I see that it's almost 8:20. Note that for the record. Anyway,
I think we're ready,
yes,
Chairman, may I just make a quick comment?
sure.
Thank you for that. The owners would like to offer a sidewalk to the zoning board, if anyone thinks that would be helpful, because one of the issues in the notice violation was that it's being used as something in a restaurant. And so, they'd like everyone to become familiar with the property, go to the set up. If that's helpful, I'm happy to do it.
Oh, no, yeah, no, that's one thing we typically what we do is we wait to the, I like to wait to the public hearing to see what everybody has to say, get everybody's input, to see what everybody's concerns are, and then we go after those site visits. So we'll definitely be visiting you. And, I
Okay, so
assume
we'll
we should.
schedule it in a month and then go in between October.
That's the way I like to do it. I know other folks maybe do it beforehand, but I like to hear the comments of everybody, so I know what the concerns are of the public before I go out and do the site inspection. But we will definitely.
If you
be out
could
there.
let Gretchen know the best way of contacting, who to contact, whether it's John or Denise, or you, and then that way the board member wants to schedule.
And we'll probably all come out as many as possible, so it's only one time in the bottom.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, anything else? All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you, Steve.